guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite book series of all times. It's pretty unknown, so if you haven't heard of this series, I would definitely recommend picking it up. This is the Emperor's Edge series by Lindsay Buroker. So today we're going to be discussing my pretty brief book review on the first book. I picked this series up and I decided that I wanted to do something with it on YouTube, and so we're discussing the first book, The Emperor's Edge, and what I liked about it, the few things I maybe didn't like about it on this 7th read through of The Emperor's Edge. I had originally planned to do this for the entire series, all 7 books, read a book, film a review, read a book, film a review, and all that. But by the time I'm filming this, I'm actually well into the 3rd book, so I'm going to have a lot of catching up to do, and this is going to be short so I can cover a lot of the books, but I hope you guys enjoy this book review. I am going to put these away, and then we can jump right into it. Alright. So for those of you guys who don't know what the Emperor's Edge series is about, it is based in a fantasy steam era world, and it focuses on the main character, Amaranth Lockton, who is one of the only female enforcers in the nation of Turgonia, where she lives. And so an enforcer is kind of like the police officers, and so Amaranth Lockton is one of the first female enforcers. And in becoming one of the first female enforcers, she gets herself caught up in this entire plot involving attempted assassination of the Emperor, and ends up having to get on the wrong side of the law and put together a team of outlaws to help save the Emperor. And in the process, she teams up with the famous assassin Sicarius, and she and Sicarius and their team that they call the Emperor's Edge have to get together and create a scheme to save the Emperor. And this book is so good. It is one of my favorites. I found it years ago and I've reread it a million times since. I've probably read through the whole series about 3 times total, probably more on the individual books that I love. The first thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to The Emperor's Edge is the fact that it jumps straight into the action. Now, I didn't really notice this the first times around, but I found that this is probably one of the things that really appealed to me about this book, that really grabbed my attention when I first picked it up. And it's probably why I kept reading and I loved the series so much, because by chapter 1, there's already a big fire. By chapter 2, main character Amaranth has already overcome multiple near-death experiences. And it's not one of those books that waits until page 50 to finish all the world building and the character building and then finally jumping into the action. This gets straight into it. And so I talked about how this book jumps straight into the action, but one of the tiny things that I really loved right off the bat was that one of Amaranth's main character traits is that she can get any information out of anyone just by talking to them. And sometimes this is a flaw. She knows it and she believes that she can go into any situation just talking, but sometimes it is so great and it gets anyone talking, and she can get every little tiny bit of information just by getting someone to talk. And I love how they use this character trait to poke fun at the concept of the villain monologue trope. Because right off the bat, she gets one of the villains talking. And right off the bat, the other characters are like, how? How did you get him to talk? No one else can get this dude to talk. Only you. And they really poked fun at the villain monologue trope. So that is just a tiny thing that I love about it. I love when books poke fun at their own cliches. But another thing that I loved about this book is that there are no good characters. There are no good guys. There's the protagonists that you like, and there's the people that you root for, but even the people you root for are so morally ambiguous and morally gray. Even the bad guys that they're fighting against have their reasons, and it's not like they're just evil for the sake of being evil. And even the good guys have their flaws, and they are not above killing people and spilling innocent blood to get what they want. And so it's this battle of what is good, what is right, and what is for the greater good. And there's this constant conflict between, is it for the greater good or are we just hurting innocent people? And I love that concept and love that conflict in The Emperor's Edge. So the big thing that really draws anyone into this series so much is the characters. Oh my gosh, this book in this series is a case study in character building. Every single character right off the bat has a perfect personality. Not perfect in that they don't have any flaws, but perfect in that it's so fleshed out and they feel like real characters. Their dialogue is so unique to themselves in everything that they do. The character development is consistent. It's not like suddenly they have developed and become a new person. They are still the same person, just with a few improvements on their previous flaws. And the way that Lindsay Buroker formulates her characters and the dynamics between the characters in these books is what really draws you in. Honestly, if I could just read an entire book that had no central plot, no central theme, just about the characters in this book just talking and interacting, normally I'm not down for that, but I would totally be down for that. And that is what I love about this book, because you can get so into the characters and it's so captivating and you fall in love with them. And that is what is so good about these books. Good characters make everything amazing. So that is the characters. And then the final thing I wanted to rave about in this review is how everything ties back in together in the end. They will have this red herring that you think is going to be the main conflict, and then you realize that it's not going to be the main conflict, but then at the end it ties into the main conflict, and it's so perfect. It's like the perfect mixture and web of mystery and fantasy pushed together, because you have no idea where most of the things are going most of the time. There are the main conflicts and all that, but then there are all these little hidden conflicts that you don't know if they're just for the sake of pushing the plot forward or if they actually are going to fit into everything in the end. And the best part is that it doesn't feel manufactured. It doesn't feel like the author just had these certain scenes she wanted to write and then just fit them into the overall narrative somehow. It all feels so natural. Everything flows together. It's not really a web with angular connections. It's more of like a connection of rivers flowing together into the main ocean that is the final climax in the end. And this is it is a work of art. It is a work of art that very few people could recreate, and Lindsay Buroker does it so well. She does it in every single book in this series, and each time it's its own individual little network of rivers, but then when you look at the series as a whole, it all connects into this major river in the end, and it's fantastic. It blows your mind when you think about it in proportion to the tiny little moments in the books. But then it makes so much sense when you put them together. And I know that this doesn't make sense, much of what I'm talking about, because I'm not giving examples, because I'm trying not to spoil the book too much. I don't really want to give too many spoilers, because people who are watching this might want to go out and read it from themselves. But it is so good, and you will see what I am talking about when you pick up this book and read it for yourselves. Okay, so let's jump into the very few things that I didn't necessarily like about this book on this read-through. This will forever be one of my favorite books, and no matter how many flaws it has, I will always love it so much. But the big thing is that at times, the world building is told through exposition. And again, this is not a big issue for me, having only noticed it the 7th time I read this book, and only noticed it because I'm reading this book with a critical eye this time around. So if you're reading it for enjoyment, you probably won't notice this. And I didn't notice this the first 6 times. But I noticed it this time, that sometimes when they are trying to show the world building of the book and explain to you about the world, rather than exploring and maps and things like that, they tell it through maybe a lecture that one very knowledgeable character will tell. And it's done so well that it conceals it well enough that it won't ruin the experience of the book. You won't sit there and go, that feels like exposition. But if you are reading it with a critical eye like I did, you will notice it. Again, not the biggest issue for me. I didn't mind it. It's just I had to come up with something to fill this cons list, and that just went on it. The last con is that I am rereading this book. I know so many of you guys out there understand the feeling of reading a book for the first time and the excitement and all that, and you get that every time you are rereading this. Every time reading it is like the first time, and it's fantastic. But the only issue is that you know what happens next, and you know what's going to happen. Drama that's going to mess things up, or 2 characters that you know will have this relationship but don't have it quite yet. And you're not there yet, and it's a slow build because it's a natural progression. It doesn't rush anything in this book and in these plot lines, but the fact that it doesn't rush anything does not help when you're rereading. But that is it. There's so few things that I found to complain about this book. I'm not a natural complainer. I read for pleasure. I read for enjoyment. I don't normally read with a critical eye, which is why I couldn't find many issues with this. The writing is so well written, the characters are fleshed out and amazing, the plotline is so well woven and designed. It's amazing. If you guys haven't read The Emperor's Edge by Lindsay Buroker, please, please, please pick it up. This is a good book. It is a phenomenal book. I would totally recommend it. So that covers it for our book review of The Emperor's Edge for today. If you liked this video, if you want to see the rest of the Emperor's Edge series, I'll go into a little more detail in the rest of the reviews. I just wanted to keep this one as spoiler-free as possible. So like this video, and please, please, please subscribe. We are trying to get to a 20 subscriber goal so I can put out my newbie tag and get more people onto the channel. So please subscribe, send this to your friends, pick up this book, let me know what you think of it, let me know if you enjoy it, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.